Oh, hello. Welcome to the Mermaid Tavern, and happy St. Patrick's Day. Slantava. Mm. Yes, happy St. Patrick's Day. Who was the most Irish of the Beatles? Well, I seem to remember that George's family, his mum Louise, her maiden name was French. Yeah, I think I read something that went back to that they found that they were landowners back in Norman times. That's where that name French came from. Correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I seem to remember reading that in an Irish newspaper a long time ago. I spent quite a bit of time in Ireland at one time when I was um, acted all over there. And George was in Ireland quite a bit, wasn't he? He had cousins over there. There were connections. I'm sure John and Paul had cousins over there, but they probably weren't as close. And I think George's family was much more closely connected to Ireland. I think it was down in was it down in Wexford or something? I remember doing a show in Wexford. I was talking to somebody about this, about George. This is a long time ago now, like 2013. I remember talking. Also, on that same tour, I was up in Mayo, in Ballina Arts Centre, right up in Northwest Ireland. There, I remember talking to somebody there who was involved with the island that John bought in 1967. Dornish. It was called Dornish, and he bought it in '67. I don't think he ever spent any time there. He went over there and sort of, looked at it, but I don't think it was intended to build a house. They got planning permission, but it was never built, was it? And then it became a sort of hippie commune, I think, in the '70s, and I think there was some trouble. I seem to remember there was some trouble with it, like fires and vandalism and stuff. But he still owned the island up until the time he was murdered, and they say that he was planning to go and retire there. Um, what's that great quote? He said something like, um, "I hope we're a nice old couple." Uh, yeah, I hope we're a nice old couple living off the coast of Ireland, looking at our scrapbook of madness. That's nice, isn't it? And it didn't happen, of course. Do you think it would have happened? Think it would have happened? Apparently, he was going to. His lawyer said he was going to renew the planning permission. Um, but I remember talking to somebody came to see me. I did a show at the Ballina Arts Centre. This is 2013. I chatted to somebody, and he was involved. This person was involved. Very nice person. And he was involved with trying to set something up to do with John Lennon on the island. He owned it. Was he the farm? I think the guy, farmer, owned it so he could just graze sheep there or something. It's only tiny, of course. But yeah, I remember that. Whether it ever happened, I don't think so. I never read anything more about it. But yeah, this dream he was going to do it, and he came down to see my show, which was about the Beatles. It was the one I did that played by Mal Evans back in 2013. Beatle Mal. But yeah, as it's St Patrick's Day, as well as discussing who's the most Irish of the Beatles, I thought I'd talk about those two Irish songs that uh, solo Beatles did, John did, and Paul did. And of course, we're talking about The Luck of the Irish, which was on sometime in New York City. Was that late 1972 that came out? If memory serves, September or October 72. I think it was September. And then you had earlier in the year Wings. It was on Wings Wildlife, wasn't it? It was. It should. Should have done it. Should have done me. Should have done it. I've got some. I've got a few little quotes and things. I sort of researched, but I didn't do proper research again, as into. Yeah, it came out as a single. I know that because I've got it in that sort of with all the white Apple label with the shamrocks around it. Which is the best of those two singles? Is there a best? They've both got flaws, haven't they? I mean, to me, because I heard it first, "Luck of the Irish" is the better song. There's problems with it though, and yeah, the main problem. Oh, I don't like to say this because I don't want to be one of these people that, I get fed up with them, don't you? The sort of Yoko haters who go, oh, everything to do with it. I respect Yoko, and I've got some, I respect her, and I think she was John's muse, and in fact, I quite like Sometime in York City. Yeah, even some of Yoko's bits on there, I quite respect that. I quite like that. I said respect quite a few times now, haven't I? Respect to you, Yoko. Bless you. Bless you, Yoko Ono. Without Yoko, there would have been no Imagine. I always say that to any Yoko detractors. But yeah, I think I mentioned this the other day. Um, her contribution to Luck of the Irish does not help it. Slightly stilted vocal. Now, I mean, that's not the only problem with that song, but I have heard a long time ago, and I was trying to find it somewhere, or maybe I imagined it, or maybe I wished for it, a very basic demo of Luck of the Irish. And the tune isn't all there. Yoko's not on it, it's just John. I haven't found it anywhere. I've looked on all the stuff I could find. Maybe I missed it somewhere. Did I miss it somewhere obvious? Did I? I mean, I haven't bought those recent box sets that came out, like Mind Games or the ones before, Imagine and Plastic Ono Band, but it wouldn't have been on there anyway. It would have been on of course, they haven't brought a box set of Sometime in York City. Yeah, it's not just Yoko's contribution to it, which is, by the way, awful kind of corny lyrics involving like leprechauns and Blarney Stones and stuff like that. Very sort of romanticized, sort of idyllic, sort of pastoral kind of island. It wanted to be what I believe Luck of the Irish wanted to be was a real rebel song, a real kind of. I wish John had done that. I mean, you've got on that album, you've got Sunday Bloody Sunday, haven't you, too? Which is good, actually. There's some good lyrics on it. 1,000 years of torture and hunger drove the people away from their land. A land full of beauty and wonder was raped by the British brigands. God damn, God damn. That's probably the best bit. That's the nearest to it, that bit at the end. Brigand, to a sort of folky, rebel song in the best tradition of rebel songs. Steve Coogan's great character, Martin Brennan. The Irish character he does. It's funny, and he does that when he's on Alan Partridge thing. Come out, you black and tans, come and fight me like a man. And you kind of want John to be doing that. I mean, I've been all over Ireland. I remember people singing and listening to some of that. I love some of these songs. I loved it. I really love all that. It's something deep in me about Ireland, as I think I've talked before about when I did when I was talking last year about people like Sinead O'Connor and Lisa O'Neill. There's something deep with Ireland with me, and it's not a romanticised thing. It's sort of love it. I love it. Anyway, I've just remembered. Oh yeah, John on the Walls and Bridges album. John had a sort of little sleeve note, didn't he, about the derivation of the name Lennon, or how it's Leonard or something. And he said, did he say something like, no one? It said no one of this name has ever achieved anything in the world of arts or something. And John put on after, oh yeah, like that. Of course, Dr. Winston O'Boogie, bless him. Let's talk about Paul. Give Ireland back to the Irish. It sounds a bit like a calypso sort of song. It's got a really odd arrangement, very much of its time, I think. But not just that. It's just this weird calypso arrangement. He should have had a few pipes, and he should have had an Irish whistle or something in there to have a bit more folky elements to it. Like in Luck of the Irish, there was a flute, wasn't there, giving it a sort of an Irish. It's quite a nice arrangement, actually. Luck of the Irish. I think it had a nice. Starts nice. But yeah, give Ireland back to the Irish. Give Ireland back to the Irish. Don't make them have to take it away. Give Ireland back to the Irish. Make Ireland Irish today. Oh, no. There's some interesting bits in it. Tell me, how would you like it if if you're on your way to work, you were stopped by Irish soldiers? Would you lie down, do nothing? Some interesting lines with it. It just doesn't. The song is just. I watched this on YouTube. There's this American sort of TV spot. I think it's ABC in '72, and Paul's jamming with the other guys and Linda and the band. They're jamming it. They're just doing a sort of improvised jam of it, and I like that actually. That hasn't got all that silly calypso sort of theme to it. It's quite raw and quite rocky and hard the way Paul's singing it. And I like that. I really like that. I think that's the way, maybe rather than being a folky ballad. Yeah, that's the way. One of those great Irish sort of rocky, like Gary Moore or Thin Lizzy, something like that. If he'd gone in that sort of, Paul had gone in that sort of hard rock, very rocky, that could have been a classic. As it is, it's just a bit daft, innit? It loses it. And I think if he'd done a real hard, just like the bits of it in that, you check it out. It's a sort of ABC 1972 ABC special report, and yeah, if I remember, I'll put a link to it in the description. You check that out. I like that. He's doing a much more heavier, rockier version of it, which should have been the single, really. Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? Because it has got potential, even though the lyrics aren't the best Paul's written. I think he means well with them. I think in a way, Paul's lyrics, in a way, not lyrics, but in a way, Paul's, what he's trying to say with the song is more worthy than what John was saying with Luck of the Irish, which is not a great title anyway, is it? It suggests itself to be a bit sort of, romanticise that Luck of the Irish thing. And I know I like some of the darker lyrics in it. And as I said to you before about the other song, I wanted it to be a rebel song. With Paul's, I think he's got, I think he's thinking it more. He's thinking it out more, Paul, I think, than John did. There's a man who looks like me, and he dreams of God and country, and he's feeling really bad, and he's sitting in prison. He's thinking it more. He's thinking it more. I wouldn't attempt to sing that. It's actually the way Paul sings it is quite hard to sing that song. But yeah, I kind of want both of those songs. They want their heads knocking together. They want to be better. But far be it from me to criticise those two geniuses, John Lennon and Paul McCartney, because they're both amazing. I wish George had written an Irish song. That would have been good. George could have done it, couldn't he? Because he's the most Irish. He's Norman, French, Irish. Yeah, bless him. Mr. Harrison should have done it. Thank you for listening to me. Hope you enjoyed it. Oh, have a very happy St. Patrick's Day, won't you? St. Patrick! And will I see you again? I sincerely hope so. In Mountjoy jail one Monday morning, high upon the gallows tree, Aaron